Good morning and welcome to this webinar on Kickstart Your FP&A Career, brought to you by FP&A Professionals Institute. First of all, thank you for your trust. You've taken out your valuable 60 minutes on a Sunday morning to learn something new, to understand something new. So thank you for your trust. Pat yourselves on the back for taking action. Taking action to grow your career is extremely important. A Harvard study says that less than 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers. And no wonder less than 3% of the people are leading the world's organizations. So pat yourselves on the back for taking the action and make sure that you stay through till the end to understand more about what we're trying to share here in FP&A. What are we going to cover today? Over the next 30 to 40 minutes, get rid of all the distractions. We will be talking about what is FP&A, why is it gaining so much of importance, why CFOs are looking for the right kind of FP&A talent. We'll also understand how a typical FP&A month looks like, what are some of the activities that are involved in FP&A, what do you as FP&A professional need to do on a day-to-day basis? We'll try and understand that through a typical FP&A month. Then I'll share with you a quick FP&A career framework. If you have to build your career long and strong, what is the framework that you need to follow to build your FP&A career? And of course, we'll talk about FP&A certifications and coaching programs that are available out there, which will help you transition or solidify your FP&A career at this point in time. Okay. So all in all, 30 to 40 minutes. It's going to be fast paced, so get rid of all the distractions and we will have some time for Q&A in the end as well. Okay, so let's get started. A little bit about us before we begin with. My name is Dhawal Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I've also completed my one-year general management program from IIM Ahmedabad. Over the last 16 years, I've served as a CFO and a finance leader across India and in the Middle East. I'm now the co-founder and lead faculty at FP&A Professionals Institute. Over the last 6 years, I've been an active online instructor and a mentor. I've trained more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like FP&A, finance business partnering, data storytelling, CFO career coaching, and now AI for FP&A, and much more. Okay. I'm frequently seen in a lot of CFO events across the Middle East, somewhere as a host, a moderator, a speaker. So I'm frequently seen in the CFO events across the Middle East. And I've also built a vibrant CFO community of more than 200 CFOs where we keep meeting every quarter to discuss, share, and grow together. I'm joined by my co-founder, Asif Masani. Asif, a quick introduction from your end.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dhawal, for having me. And quickly about me, I've been working in finance, very specifically in FP&A for more than 10 years now, more than a decade. I started my career into audit back in 2010 with EY and then moved into FP&A in 2013 after completing my internship and the CA exams. Started as an analyst, and by the time I left the corporate career back in 2023. I was the FP&A lead for one of the largest tech companies for their APAC and India region. And that is when we started the FP&A Professionals Institute. And what we try to do at the institute is we try to bring not just my and Dawal's experience, but experience of top global FP&A experts and CFOs across different regions. So we meet FP&A experts and CFOs right from North America, Middle East, APAC, Europe. Okay. So we try to bring in all of their experience and expertise through all the things that we do at FPI. You can see all of these courses, books, webinars, videos, all of the things that we create for our students and our community at FPI. So that is what we do. And over the past 3 years, we've trained more than 5,000 students across all of these certifications that you see on the screen.
Thank you, Asif. I think one thing that Asif and I share is our extreme passion for helping finance professionals upskill themselves. That's what motivated us to quit our high-paying CFO and FP&A leader jobs to start FPI and shape the next generation of finance professionals. So why bother learning FP&A, right? So why bother learning FP&A? Let's understand the why behind FP&A first. And I'm going to give you two strong data points. One, 8 out of 10 CFOs say that it is generally difficult to find the right FP&A talent. This is a survey done by CXOverse, which is an independent CFO community of more than 1,000 plus CFOs. Okay, and they say that 8 out of 10 CFOs say it is generally difficult to find the right FP&A talent. On an average, FP&A roles command 15 to 30% higher salary than regular finance and accounting roles. We're not saying this. You can take out any popular salary survey by large recruitment agencies like a Michael Page or a Robert Half or a Kingston Stanley. You can identify that FP&A manager, FP&A analyst roles are commanding at least 15 to 30% higher salary than regular finance and accounting roles. I hope these 2 points are motivating enough for you to stay till the very end and see how you can pivot into an FP&A career. Here's the World Economic Forum report. Accounting is considered as one of the fastest, top 10 fastest declining jobs, right? Anything which is rule-based, right? Bookkeeping, accounting, AP, AR, any of these rule-based activities, right, will get automated first, right? AI will come and hit these jobs first, right? So that's why it is one of the top 10 declining jobs. That's why it is equally important for you to pivot your career into anything that is decision support, right? Where you are doing analysis, talking to a lot of business teams and helping them take certain decisions. So where does FP&A fit into the organization? If you can visualize a CFO's office, there are multiple roles reporting into the CFO's office, right? So financial reporting, FP&A, treasury, taxes, and each of them have a specific role to play, right? Financial reporting is responsible for preparation of financial statements, statutory audit, internal audit, SOX audit, and all of these compliances. Tax team is responsible for filing the tax returns, both your GSTs, your VATs, and corporate tax returns. Treasury team is responsible for working capital management, managing all the banking relationships, FX, all of these things is treasury team. So amidst all this chaos, somebody needs to keep an eye on the performance of the business. So that is where FP&A team comes into play. The main role of FP&A is to provide timely and accurate insights to the CFO and other senior business leaders in the company so that they can take informed financial decisions. That is why FP&A also enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO's office. Okay. Now, what is FP&A? So that brings us to the question, what is FP&A? Right. Now, FP&A, financial planning and analysis, can be broken down into two terms, right? Financial planning and financial analysis. Now, financial planning is the future-looking function of FP&A, where we are talking about business plan, short-term forecast, long-term forecast, long-range planning, rolling forecast, what is happening in the upcoming months, what is happening in the upcoming quarters. So that's what is a future-looking part of FP&A. And then there is financial analysis, which is all about analyzing the ongoing performance of the business, where we are talking about variance analysis, different kind of management commentaries, decision support, different kind of comparisons, actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, current quarter versus previous quarter, current year to date versus previous year to date, all of these different kind of comparisons and publishing those decision packs, like monthly reporting packs, so that the management can take certain decisions. So that is the financial analysis part of FP&A. Now, no matter what company you go into, small, medium, large, you will find some or the other variation of these four activities, right? Budgeting, which is your annual planning exercise, where you're preparing the plan for the next financial year. Forecasting, which is actually actuals for the completed period plus the forecast for the balance period. For example, if I'm looking at Jan to December as a financial year, and if I have Jan to March actuals, then it will be something called as a 3+9 forecast, 3 months of actuals and 9 months of forecast. And we look at it every quarter or every month, depending on the size and complexity of the business. And then there is management reporting, where you're publishing regular reports and decks to different levels of management, including the business unit lead, to the CEO, CFO, and various business leaders in the company. And in order to execute those management reports, you'll be doing two types of activities. That is variance analysis, where you're doing different kind of comparisons and trying to understand the business reasons behind these variances. And then profitability analysis. Every company will not just be happy to look at the corporate profit. They want to dissect it and see where is this profit coming from, which product, which branch, which business unit. And that is where different levels of profitability are computed and included in your management reports. So no matter what kind of a company you go into, small, medium, large, you will find some or the other variation of these four activities, which are the very core foundation of FP&A. Now, what are some of the key traits to be successful FP&A professional? Now, there could be dozens of them. I'm going to sum it up into 4 bullet points. Okay. One is business acumen. Your ability to look beyond Excel sheets, your ability to understand the business and its implication on the finance. That is what is important in FP&A. And I'll give you an example. So when I was working with an advertising agency as an FP&A head, at that point in time, we were pitching for Facebook, which was coming up with a bigger advertising mandate in India. And we were pitching for the entire public relations and advertising mandate for Facebook in India. At that point in time, when we computed the pricing, I was able to see that it was about 5 to 7% net margin and not more than that. On an average, we were making anywhere between 15 to 20% net margin on other clients. So I went back to the business head and said that hey boss, I think we are only making 5% net margin here. I think we should increase our prices for Facebook. So the business head smiled at me and said that, see, first of all, it's extremely competitive out there. Number one. Number two is that can you imagine how many doors this will open if you just tell that our client is Facebook? How many technology companies will line up? How many technology companies will look at this as a credibility that we are working with Facebook? So it's more of an investment for us and not a margin making thing. Now that can be true with some clients and not every client, but this was just a perspective beyond finance and numbers, beyond Excel sheet that one needs to understand when you're working as a finance professional, especially when you're supporting business. Second is analytical skills. Now let me explain to you with an example. Analytical skills is your ability to correlate different sets of numbers and try and draw insights out of it. And I'll give you an example. If I tell you that the marketing budget of the company is $5 million. Now, standalone $5 million is not going to tell you any information or any insight. Now, let's add some context and relevance to it. Now, I'm going to tell you that $5 million represents 5% of sales, which means for every $100 of sales, we are spending $5 on marketing. Now, you have some reference. Now, I'll add some more context. Historical average of last 3 years has been 3% of sales. So this year, we are spending 5% of sales on marketing. Historically, we have spent only 3% of sales on marketing. Now you are armed with enough insights to go back to the marketing director and ask certain questions that, hey boss, why are you spending 2% extra compared to the last 3 years? Is it one time? Is it going to be recurring? Then let the marketing director justify with whatever the reason is. Maybe we are hiring a celebrity for this year, which will be a one-time expenditure, something like that. So let them justify. Okay. And this is what happens when you start putting correlations and understanding the trends. That is when you are able to draw insights, which will arm you to ask the right questions to the business teams. Then comes cross-functional relationships. Only analyzing is not your job. You will be dealing with various cross-functional relationships. In my career, I've worked with HR, business development, plant finance. I have worked with marketing teams, right? Various cross-functional team members and help them optimize their performance. That's why you need to maintain strong cross-functional relationships with them. Then IT and data literacy. Okay, a little bit of IT literacy is important. Understanding the basics of Excel, Power BI, basic data analysis, basic data literacy, understanding the relationships like what is an average, what is a median, mean, median, mode, standard deviation. So these are some basic data literacy is required for you to draw those insights when you're dealing with large sets of data. Okay, and then provide these insights to the business teams. And of course, every company will use a separate or a different kind of an FP&A tool. So you don't need to learn any one tool. Many times I get asked that if I learn Power BI, will I become an FP&A professional? If I learn this tool, that tool, will I become an FP&A professional? The answer is no, right? So there are hundreds of tools out there. So focus on the conceptual understanding and understand the basic landscape of an FP&A tool. As long as you're able to do that, then different companies will be using different kind of tools, which more or less have the same architecture. Yeah. So these are the 4 core skill sets for you to be successful in FP&A. Now, how does a typical FP&A month look? When I ask students or when I ask people that, okay, what does FP&A professional do? They say budgeting, forecasting. Now, will we be doing budgeting and forecasting for the whole year? Not really, right? So how does a typical FP&A month look like? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? I'll let Asif cover this through a typical FP&A month explanation.
Yeah, thanks, Dhawal. So before we get into the discussion on the monthly calendar, how does the different days look like? Okay, so a few things that you need to keep in mind that you should know before you look at this calendar is one, that this is an average calendar that we've created based on the survey we've done for more than 20 different companies. And these 20 different companies come from different regions, different industries. So this is more of an average calendar that you've created. What does the average calendar mean? Average calendar means that some companies who have better FP&A processes and better, or I would say more mature FP&A teams, they might do slightly better than this. Okay. And some of the companies which do not have good FP&A processes, or they don't have a very mature FP&A team, they've just recently set up an FP&A team, they might be doing slightly behind this, or they might be still running slightly behind this. Okay, so although some of the activities that you see here of week 1 might happen in week 2 in some companies, or week 2 happening in week 1, and likewise week 3 happening in week 4, depending on the industry, depending on the age depending on the FP&A team maturity. The sequence more or less remains the same. So when you go from the first item to the last item, more or less the sequence will remain the same. However, you would not see exactly the same activities happening in each of the weeks in the company that you might be working with. Okay, so keep that in mind. Second is that this is looking at the reporting for the previous month. So, for example, right now we are in the month of February. So today is 8th of Feb. So when I'm looking at the calendar, I am looking at the calendar in week 1 of February. So week 1 of February is the first 7 days of February, which is 1st February to the 7th February. However, I am talking about the performance of the previous month. Okay, so when I'm talking about the accounts close and the management reporting, I'm talking about the January accounts close. I'm talking about the management reports of January. Okay, so those are the two things you need to keep in mind. One is that it's an average of so many companies that we have surveyed, and the second is that we are talking about the previous month reporting in this case, which is, for example, right now it is first week of February. So if we are in week 1 of February, then we are talking about the January month. Okay, so that is how the FP&A week starts with flash reporting. So the first item that you see on the screen is flash reporting. What happens in flash reporting is you try to give an estimate of the revenue numbers, especially, and also expense numbers in many cases. So you try to give an estimate of how the income statement will look like before even the books of accounts are closed. So typically, books of accounts are closed on business day 3, 4, 5 in many companies, which is at the end of the first week. However, the senior management may not want to wait till end of the first week to know the performance of January in our example. They may want to know the performance on January on the first of the Feb, right? So for that, you create something called as flash report, where you give them the estimate number of January, which may not be 100% accurate, obviously, but it will be very close to the actual number, which is going to be closed maybe in few days from the 1st of January. So the flash reporting will continue till the time the books of accounts are closed and the management reports are available. And as soon as the books of accounts are closed, the close is done by the controller or the accounting team. FP&A team usually doesn't interfere in the closing of the books. However, what they do is they review the one close once the books are closed by the controller or the accounting team. They get on a quick meeting with them and then they review the accounts and ask questions if anything has changed materially from the flash that they had reported in the previous week. Okay, so any major changes that they did not expect that came in the accounting close, which were reported in the flash in the previous week, they will ask questions and have the discussion. Once the books are closed, then the FP&A teams have standard reporting packs that they need to update and they need to send out to the different business teams. So it could be updating the sales report, it could be updating the headcount report, it could be updating the marketing return on investment report, or it would be updating the month-end reporting pack for the CEO. Okay, so there are set reports or defined reports. Most of them these days are automated, so you have to make sure that you refresh them in terms of the updating of numbers. Make sure that you add some business comments to it in terms of what are the business reasons for the numbers being what they are. Either they are more than the budget, either they are less than the budget. What are the drivers that are causing the numbers to be different from the budget or the previous forecast? Okay, so that is what typically happens in week one. You start with class reporting, the books of accounts get closed, and then you update your management reports by the end of the week. Okay, typically that is how the week one looks like, and then you move on to the forecasting activity, which is one of the most important activities in FP&A. So what do you do in week two is you pick up the previous updated forecast. Okay, say for example you had created the forecast or you had updated the forecast last version in the previous month. You will pick up the previous updated version of the forecast and you will start updating the forecast for the next cycle. Okay, what does that mean? That means that you will pick up the previous version. In this case, the previous version could be the budget because right now you are in the first, you just completed January. So in this case, you may not have the previous version. You will just pick up the previous budget what you had. Okay, or if you were in March or April that you had done in January or February. Okay, so you'll pick up the most recent version of the forecast and then start updating that for actual. So you'll update the January month actuals. You'll replace the January budget number or the forecast number with the actual number, and then update the assumptions for the remaining 11 months. So in our case, we'll update February to December assumptions, and that's how the numbers will change for the remaining period, and the forecast will get updated for this particular cycle. This forecast gets reviewed by different teams. The business teams usually provide their inputs. It gets reviewed by the head of that particular business. It gets reviewed by the CFO, and then finally the forecast gets locked and it gets uploaded into the system. Now, this forecast that you have uploaded into the system, this is used as one of the points of comparison when you will do the reporting in the next month in the week one. Okay, so the management report that you did in the week one, you typically have comparisons versus the budget and also the forecast. So this is going to be the forecast that you will be using in the next monthly reporting cycle for the purpose of comparison. Yes, some companies do forecast on a monthly basis, some do on a quarterly basis. So if you're doing it on a quarterly basis, you will not see this every month. You might see this coming up only in the quarter end. Okay, so week two was forecasting. Week three is more of so you're done with the management reporting and the forecasting, which are two of the major activities in your FP&A role. So week three is slightly ad hoc, I would say, which is going to be more analysis. So because you've sent out so many reports in week one and you sent out the forecast in week two, now business teams might go through these reports and forecasts, and they may have some questions, and they will reach out to you and ask for more clarifications, ask for more analysis. Okay, so week three is usually making sure that the business teams understand the management reports and the forecast, and then you have questions that come from the senior management and you try to answer those questions. Typically, that involves some ad hoc analysis. Sometimes you're working on some projects which are with the business teams. So typically, you try to schedule those more in the week three because week one, week two is usually busy. Then you try to work on automation. So you want your week one, week two, week four to be very uh, I would say efficient, and a lot of FP&A teams spend good time automating projects, automating files, automating reports during week three so that they can have time during the week one, week two, week four. Okay, then there's something called as forecast risk and opportunities. So you've submitted the forecast in week two, so it doesn't mean that it closes there. Although you've locked the forecast, you still need to keep an eye on something called as RNO, which is risk and opportunities, meaning if anything that you have seen that has changed from the previous forecast submission. If there are any material items that have changed, you need to make sure that you make a note of those and then communicate those to the different people in the company, whoever are going to be whoever are supposed to know about that change. So that is how the typically week three looks like. Then finally week four is preparation for week one, week two. So you start updating your reports. You start rolling forward, or you start roll forwarding your reports, meaning you pick up your previous month reports and models, which you're going to update in week one, week two, and then start updating it for the next period. And then again, the flash reporting usually starts at the end of the month and continues in week one. So flash reporting typically would start on day 25, 26, 27, which is business day minus 5, minus 4. Okay, so it usually starts at the end of the month and then continues into the week one of the next month. Okay, so that is how the cycle continues. And if you notice, there is no budget in this particular calendar because budget is a once in a annual or once in a year activity. It's an annual activity, not a monthly activity. So apart from the budget, this calendar covers more or less 80-90% of the things that people would do on a weekly basis or on a daily basis as well. Okay, so with that, I will take a pause and we will go to the
Yeah.
next topic.
Thank you, Asif. I hope everybody got a quick glimpse of how does a typical FP&A month look like? What are some of the activities involved in FP&A? So here's a quick situation for you, and I want you to take 30 seconds to think about it and then type your responses in the chat box. You have joined as an FP&A manager in a new company 2 days ago. What are your thoughts on how will you approach your job and what steps will you take to understand your role better? Take 30 seconds to think about it and type your responses in the chat box. I'm waiting for some responses in the chat box. Understand the business first. What are the drivers behind the same? What are the revenue drivers, cost drivers? That's right. What else? What else? A couple of more responses. We'll go through the annual reports and calls for the last 1 year. Okay. Okay. Annual report, mind you, will still give you the statutory information or the statutory financial information. May not give you the management level information. First, understand the business model, connect with different business partners, right? So connect with different business colleagues, try and understand, build relationship with them, okay, understand the processes that the company is following, right? So most of you are thinking on the right lines, but let me make it very simple for you with a quick framework. Go through the expenses, okay? Go through the management summary or management reports for last 2 quarters, right? So most of you are thinking on the right lines. Let me make it very simple for you by introducing a quick framework, which I like to call FP&A success mantra. Okay, it's a simple 3-step framework to take quick control of your FP&A role, probably within the first couple of weeks or 2 to 4 weeks. You need to focus on 3 things. One is the org structure and where you fit into the org structure. That will determine how much of a soft power do you hold and who are your stakeholders. Stakeholders could be your business teams, your regional teams, central finance team, or within your business unit, there could be stakeholders. Right? Who are your top 5 stakeholders and what kind of influence they have on your work? And the third thing is industry KPIs. Every industry follows different set of KPIs. Understand the peculiar KPIs that that industry is tracking, and then study it and then understand them more and what drives these KPIs. Okay, so these are the 3 things. So let's spend 1 minute on each of them to understand them a little bit deeper. So when it comes to organization structure, there could be 4 possibilities of different kind of FP&A roles. One is a regional role. For example, you could be FP&A manager Northwest, East, South, or you could be FP&A manager APAC, FP&A manager EMEA, whatever. Right? So you could be responsible for the FP&A of that particular region. Strategic business unit, you could be, let's imagine a company like Johnson & Johnson, right? Johnson & Johnson has multiple business units. So there is baby products, there is beauty, there is eyewear or other eye care, right? So you could be FP&A analyst baby products, right? So you're responsible only for the business unit FP&A. Then global shared services, you could be part of a global shared services which is set up in anywhere in India. Most of the European companies and US companies are now started outsourcing their accounting and FP&A to India or other low-cost economies, where you could be part of the shared services and your FP&A stakeholder could be, or your business stakeholder could be sitting outside and you are providing them with a lot of analysis and reports. Alternatively, you could be FP&A manager sitting in the US and your team of FP&A analysts is actually sitting in a shared services in Mumbai or Bangalore or somewhere in India. Right? So that could also be a possibility. Project or a client-based setup. Think about large companies which undertake one from, let's take a construction company, for example. They might want to track from project to project. So there'll be a project FP&A or a project finance team. Then there could be large service companies like software companies, advertising agencies. They want to track client level profitability for a client or a cluster of clients. So that is where you're responsible only for client FP&A or client related revenue and expenses and client profitability, right? So these are the different kind of roles. And this will determine who are your stakeholders. If you're in a business unit kind of a setup, then the business unit business unit lead, the business unit general managers, and the corporate FP&A team will be your stakeholder. If you're on the corporate side, then the group CEO or the CFO and other business unit FP&A teams will be your stakeholders, right? So it will determine who will be your stakeholders and what kind of influence they have on your work. So you will be working with a lot of different kind of stakeholders. You will always be collecting some inputs or updates from them and providing a lot of reports and insights to them. In my career, I work with HR, sales, business development, a number of teams to collect information from them or also provide a lot of insights to them for them to take certain decisions, right? So that is what is stakeholders. And then finally, the KPIs. In the interest of time, let me just quickly cover this. Depending on the company and complexity, you will be tracking different kind of KPIs. An oil and gas refining company, for that matter, tracks something called as a gross refining margin, which is basically your selling price minus your cost of crude oil. That's your gross refining margin. And then gross margin. So selling price minus every other cost of goods sold or is called your gross margin. And then gross margin minus discounts is your net margin. So these are some peculiar KPIs for oil and gas industry. A software services company would track something called as compensation ratio or a staff cost ratio because people are your biggest cost. Revenue per head count, compensation per head count are some of the other KPIs that the company is tracking. A SaaS company would track annual recurring revenue, cost of customer acquisition, churn rate as to how fast the members are churning, cohort analysis, like how many members got added and what is the longevity, how many months are they continuing. So all of these kind of things are analyzed by a SaaS company. Again, depending on what kind of a company you're working with, try and understand the top 5 to 10 KPIs of that company and then study about it even before you join that company. Okay, so these are the quick 3 elements: org structure, where you fit into the org structure, stakeholders, and then KPIs. So if you're able to focus on these 3 things in the first couple of weeks, that will help you take quick control of your FP&A role. Now, let me give you a quick framework to build your FP&A career. Right? Everybody wants to work in FP&A or grow in FP&A, but here's a quick framework to that. Everything starts with the solid foundation of your conceptual understanding. So there's no substitute for conceptual understanding, basics of budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, fixed cost, variable cost, discretionary spends, non-discretionary spends, right? Variance analysis. All of these things are the very basic conceptual understanding of FP&A, which is non-negotiable. And on top of your foundation, you will basically build three pillars. That is your soft skills, your ability to communicate insights with the business teams, tell a story, all of that matters. Then your experience. As and when you start becoming a senior, your industry experience equally matters. Right? Like, for example, in the last decade of my career, I worked with advertising and marketing agencies. Right. So I understand the industry very well. Then comes your tools. Tools could be your respective FP&A tools that the company is operating, or it could be basics of Tableau, Power BI. All of these is forming part of your tools. Again, there's no one tool that you need to focus on. Depending on what the company is using, you go deep into that tool. Okay, if your company is using Tableau, then go deep into Tableau. Don't worry about wasting time on Power BI. If your company is using Power BI, then go deep into Power BI. Then don't worry about learning Tableau at this point in time, right? So go and understand what kind of a tool your company is using. And then, of course, continuously improving yourself, staying updated with new business models, develop leadership skills as well, because at some point in time, you will move from an analyst level to a manager or a leader level as well, and keep adapting yourself to new business models. Okay, like 3 years ago, nobody had heard about AI. Right now, all there are AI business models, AI in the workflow, all of that is adapting yourself to the new changes. So this is a quick framework. It's almost like a building a house. Starts with a foundation, then the three key pillars, and then your solid improving, leading, and adapting. Now that you understand or have some understanding of how FP&A is important, why is it important, how is it hyping a skill set that CFOs are looking for, there are 5 critical skill sets that CFOs today are looking for in their finance function. Which are these 5 critical skill sets? First is core FP&A concepts. Budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, variance analysis, all of these is a core FP&A concepts. Then comes financial modeling. Financial modeling not related to investment banking or valuations. Financial modeling related to specifically FP&A, revenue models, cost models, business model, scenario planning, sensitivity analysis, trend analysis. All of that is financial modeling specifically for FP&A. Data storytelling. Yes, you can analyze 10,000 lines of Excel sheets, but how do you communicate that as an insight to the business teams? Right? Using the right visual, using the right narrative, understanding your audience. That's all part of strong data storytelling. Business partnering, like I said, you will be collaborating with various cross-functional team members. Having strong business acumen and your ability to build strong relationships matters in business partnering. And then finally, last but not the least, leveraging the technology and AI developments that are happening in the finance function so that you can be far more efficient and far more effective in your work as well, in your commentaries and in your report creations. So these are the 5 critical skill sets that CFOs today are looking for in the finance function. Now, what we have done at FPI is over the last 3 years, we have built a solid certification program called Certified Global FP&A Professional Program. This is a global FP&A certification built and delivered directly by CFOs and FP&A leaders, okay, practitioners, right, who have already worked for decades in FP&A. It has 10 comprehensive modules, which we'll talk about it in a while. Everything through experiential sessions, real life looking like data, okay, hands-on training, hands-on working files. And then you will also be part of a global alumni network. CGFP has been taken by students from more than 25 countries so far, so you'll be part of a global alumni network. You'll get sessions with a personalized career coach to help you tailor your career direction. Placement support, we support you with placements basically in terms of your resume review, your LinkedIn review, your interview prep. Also, we have started our own portal. It's called fpnajobs.com, where we're trying to bring recruiters and candidates on one platform so that more and more opportunities are created for our students. Access to Q&A sessions. We'll be doing monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask any questions directly to the faculty and get all your doubts clarified from them. Access to guest speaker sessions. Globally, top FP&A professionals, top digital transformation experts, tool providers, automation experts, they come to FPI for a monthly guest session. Okay, and we bring best of the best, and you'll get access to all of these guest sessions. And all of this happens through seamless online LMS, and the live sessions are conducted on Zoom, so you can take it from the comfort of your home. We understand that all of you are busy professionals, so we've designed it in such a way that you are able to give minimal time commitment and maximize the learning out of it. There are 10 comprehensive modules in CGFPA program. I'll let Asif cover the first 5 modules that you see on the left, and then I'll talk about the modules on the right.
Yeah. Thanks, Dhawal. Before we get into that, I'll just share the f.com that you mentioned, the URL there. So what you could do is you could set up an alert for jobs that are in your location and as per your pay range, right? So you could, when you go on the website, you will see a pop-up coming up where you can set up an alert. Once you create your profile, it will alert you if there are any jobs in your location. So I would highly encourage you to do that. I've shared the link in the chat box. Okay, so on the CGFA curriculum, what we can do is we can start with the introduction to FP&A. So introduction to FP&A, we cover in detail the calendar that we just talked about. So we go into each and every activity and we show you examples, and we go into the Excel files of those activities. So we try to show you how do they look in real life, using real life examples, case studies. We also make you implement FP&A in a new setup. So there's a company which wants to implement FP&A, and we make you implement that in that particular module. So that is introduction to FP&A. Budgeting forecasting, we cover most important budgeting techniques, like zero-based budgeting, top-down, bottoms-up budgeting, incremental budgeting, driver-based budgeting, um, activity-based budgeting, forecasting techniques like statistical methods of doing forecasting, regression, um, time series, moving averages, driver-based forecasting, rolling forecast. So all of these techniques and methods on budgeting forecasting covered using examples. Case studies, we make you do the end-to-end budget, right from the revenue budget to the production COGS budget to inventory budget to the headcount salary budget to marketing budget for a real life like looking company where we give you the data and we guide you step by step how do you create the budget, and then at the end you present that budget to the CFO. So you create a 8 to 10 slide presentation that you present to the CFO at the end of that particular uh, project. That is budgeting forecasting module. AI for finance and FP&A has been one of the most in demand modules in the last 1 year or more, I would say, and we keep continuously updating that module. So here we cover the large language models, which are getting popular day by day, and we can use some of them to automate and I would say make our lives more easier. And there are several use cases that we have seen companies use and we've seen consultants use, and we try to bring all of those use cases in that particular module. And there are specific AI tools for specific purposes, which are called AI agents, or there are FP&A tools which have embedded AI features in them. So we try to show you all of that and make sure that you get used to the habit of interacting with AI and start working with the AI tools. So that is what we cover in the AI FP&A module. Then we have the management reporting, which is one of the core modules where we cover different types of management reports, right from the month-end report to the different types of report that we talked about in the calendar. We cover different performance management reporting frameworks like balance scorecards, OKRs, KPIs, using examples from different industries. We also cover detailed concepts on profitability analysis and variance analysis, including recharges and allocations using examples and case studies. So that is a little bit about the management reporting module. And then financial modeling for FP&A is my one of the favorite module because we through proper use of financial modeling principles and best practices, you can make your lives in FP&A much more easier, and you can become much more productive and I would say useful for your business teams if you are able to create good quality financial and revenue models and expense models. So we cover all of that in that particular module, including how do you do scenario planning, sensitivity analysis, how do you do cash flow forecasting, how do you do long range forecast uh, for long term budgets or for longer term projects, which involves capital budgeting calculations like NPV, IRR, etc. So all of that is covered, including the three statement financial model. All of that is covered in the financial modeling for FP&A module.
Thank you, Asif. So now I'll talk about the modules on the right. So in the data analytics module, see, one thing that is common in your FP&A roles will be that you will be dealing with large chunks of data, right? Whether it is financial data or operational data. And in the data analytics module, we help you understand how do you navigate through this data. So we cover the basics of Power BI, SQL, and Power Query so that you are able to comfortably use these tools in your day-to-day function. Now, do we make you an expert in these tools? Absolutely no. We don't claim to make you that, but at least we take you to a level where you are comfortable using Power BI, Power Query in your day-to-day FP&A roles, which will make your life much more easier to analyze large chunks of data. Then comes financial analysis. See, financial analysis is not just restricted to ratio analysis. When we talk about financial analysis, we only talk about ratios, right? But it's much more than that. Right? So horizontal analysis, vertical analysis, different kind of mix analysis, all of that is something which is looked at internally by the CFO for them to take certain decisions. So that is what is covered in the financial analysis module. And then comes storytelling and presentations. storytelling best practices, understanding your audience, crafting a narrative, different using the different chart types. All of that is covered in the storytelling and presentation best practices. And then strategy. Now, strategy is a very interesting module. So as and when you start becoming senior in your company, your senior management will start talking a certain strategic language. At that point in time, you can't use strategic terms in a very loose way. That's why we cover all the popular strategic tools and also show you how FP&A can contribute or FP&A is interlinked to these strategic decisions in the company. And then finally comes business partnering, where we have helping you understand through practical examples of how you can collaborate with various cross-functional teams, how you can truly add value in the business by optimizing various things and truly collaborating with various cross-functional teams. So that is what is business partnering. So don't just think about CGFPA as a course or a certificate. It is 20 years of our blood, sweat, and tears packed into a 6-month program. It's very much experiential in nature, hands-on in nature, and that's where you kind of fast track your learning in FP&A. Right? If you have to learn everything in one go, then probably it'll take a few years together. What we have done is we have compressed it in a 6-month program so that you're able to fast track your FP&A careers. Now, what is the eligibility criteria for doing the CGFPA program? One, you need to have a bachelor's degree or a global equivalent in finance, accounting, or business. Alternatively, you may have any of the professional qualifications like CA, CMA, CPA, ACC, or any equivalent accounting qualification of your respective country. So this will make you eligible for the CGFPA program. How will you get the CGFPA award? Two things. One is you need to attend at least 50% of the classes live. Okay, the live cohorts are starting in March, and the timings will be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. You need to attend at least 50% of the classes live. And also, somewhere in month number 5, you will be required to submit your capstone project, which is an end-to-end budget presentation for a CFO. Don't worry, all the guidance on the capstone will be given to you. Once you submit these two, once you are attending 50% of the classes live and submit the capstone, then you will be eligible for the final examination. The final examination is a 2 hours, 50 questions, 100 marks proctored online examination, which is a multiple choice questions examination. And once you are able to pass the exam with at least 50% of the passing marks, then you are able to get the CGFPA award from FP&A Professionals Institute. We are recognized by CPD UK and we are audited by CPD UK, and the certificate is recognized by CPD UK. Now, what is the investment for a program like this? The ROI, I can leave it to your imagination. The investment in this program is USD 1795. There's also an option to pay it over 5 months. The course duration will be for 6 months, where we will meet every Saturday live from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. The next cohort is starting on 14th of March 2026, which is a Saturday. Now, apart from the Saturday 2 hours of live lecture, about 60 to 90 minutes of your own time investment is involved. This is an executive program, so you'll not be spending too much time on the basics. We'll give you some pre-reading materials, case studies, some reading material to go through, sometimes some cases to prepare and come to the class. You have to work on those and then come to the classroom so that we can maximize the time in the class for practical discussions, group activities, and case studies, right? And the next cohort is starting on 14th of March 2026. The applications for cohort 8, this is cohort 8, more than 200 people have already taken the program so far. So the cohort 8 is now open for applications. Asif will share the brochure link and the application link in the chat box. Make sure that you at least fill in the application, be in the race. Our academic counselors will review your eligibility. They'll come back to you with any early bird offer that is going on at that point in time. So make sure that you are able to fill in the applications. Once you fill in the applications and once our academic counselors reach out to you, you can also ask them for demo lectures. You can also ask them for previous alumni contact numbers. Don't just take our word for it. There have been dozens and dozens of people who have taken this already. Many of them have been able to land FP&A roles. Many of them have been able to implement a lot of things that they have worked within the finance function, within their FP&A function as well. So you can speak to any of our alumni and then tell you how the program has been for them. FP&Ajobs.com is a new initiative. Asif has already shared the details. Make sure that you create a detailed profile on FP&Ajobs.com. Hopefully, your next opportunity will come from FP&Ajobs.com. Okay. Again, just a quick reminder, the applications for cohort 8 are now open. The first round of applications will close somewhere around 20th of February. So make sure that you fill in the application as soon as possible, be in the race for that early bird offers. Let our academic counselors reach out to you, go through the demo lectures, and then decide, do your own due diligence, and then decide this for yourself. AI and automation is coming for rule-based jobs. So if you're in a rule-based job today, make sure that you prepare yourself to move towards a decision support job, an analysis job, a business partnering job. That's number one. Number two is CGFPA program we have built in such a way that it is incorporating all the AI developments so that you don't need to spend time separately on learning AI. right? So you don't need to spend separately time on learning AI, Power BI, Power Query, all of these things. So everything is consolidated in the CGFPA program. It is probably the most wholesome program that you can imagine on FP&A, right? So do your due diligence and then feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. All right. All the best, everyone. Hoping to see you in one
Yeah.
of our programs. All the very
Thank you
best.
so
Have
much.
a great
Thank
Sunday.
you for
Bye-bye.
joining. Thank you for joining. Bye bye. Take care.